And that, that leads me to want to sort of ask you about what SNCC looked like as an organization. How was it structured? What was the relationship between the national office and the field office? What did voter registration drives look like? What exactly was happening sort of in the day-to-day operations of this organization?
So the offices, particularly Mississippi and Alabama, they would call in usually once or twice a day to let us know about any organizing work. If they'd had a big mass meeting, for example, if we needed to send one of the SNCC photographers, Danny Lyon, Tommy Owakiyama, into the location. If a church had been burned because it had had a mass meeting, which is where local folk would gather to talk about the business of the movement, who had been shot at, how much money had been raised locally to keep going. And those were usually at Black churches. So any information about anything that had been done to the churches there. Basically, what we're doing is organizing around how do you get Black people registered to vote without getting them killed. So when we're calling, or when the offices are calling us and we're calling them, we're getting information about all of this information, or sharecroppers that had, like Miss Hamer, who had been put off their the farm where they worked because they had tried to register to vote. We're calling them, but we're also sending resources in. And we have also Friends of SNCC and Campus Friends of SNCC all over the country. So UC Berkeley, for example, or University of Chicago, or NYU. We've got students who are fundraising for the people being put off the farms, or who have lost their work as a domestic worker, or to ship books into the freedom houses, or to, in Summer 64, set up community centers with health centers. And you got the Medical Committee for Human Rights, sending down Dr. Poussin and others who are coming in to work at these clinics, because of course, as Black people, as is true now, there is tremendous inequity between Black folks' healthcare and white folks' healthcare. Middle-class white folks, because poor white folks also don't get healthcare. But so we're getting all of these resources, and that's because there's a national office who is organizing this. We're sending out the student voice that Julian Bond is writing, and getting all these stories in from all these projects, and then sending it out to all of these campuses. Our main fundraising office was in New York, and they were, doing Harry Belafonte concerts and so-and-so concerts, and Dick Gregory, the famous comedian, was giving us concerts. And as a matter of fact, Dick Gregory hired a plane to bring in clothes that had been donated through our food and clothing drive, bring them down to Mississippi, because all of these white landowners had shoved off the Black folks from the farms, but also the state of Mississippi had cut off social services, and particularly food stamps, and it was winter. And so, the point being, if you try and register to vote, you're going to go hungry and your family's going to go hungry. So what we did is we went to the national offices, went to all of the networks that we had, and Dick Gregory collects some of, a lot of it, puts it on this plane and brings it down to Greenwood, Mississippi. So it was that network that the national office is developing with a number of folks, and it brings people in. They see the personal connection that they have, and that was important.